Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Knockout Analysis presented by Cronio Media. I am your very battered and beaten and tired host, Ethan Chronister. This is your co-host, Mr. Whit Barnes. I have just freshly gotten out of a jiu-jitsu class where I had my ass handed to me by a black and brown belt multiple times. So that's always fun. That being said, UFC 326 is here. We don't give a shit about the last card because it's already gone. It was what it was. Lanier Kavanaugh. Goat. Royval. Hang him the fuck up. You're washed, buddy. We're moving in to 326. Moreno, whatever the fuck his name is. Royval should probably hang him up too. He's probably like 28. I don't give a fuck. Hang him up. You're done. Moving into the first fight of 326. We have Luke Fernandez facing off against our very good friend Rodolfo Bellato. By very good friend, we mean not friend at all. He lost his last fight to Navajo Sterling. I don't care what anyone says. He lost his last fight before that to Paul Craig. Paul Craig kicked him in the face, knocked him smooth the fuck out, and he acted like a little pussy because he knew he was losing the fight. Fuck that guy. Give me Luke Fernandez to win this fight in his UFC debut.
Hey, Kron's spitting here, man. Rodolfo Bellato is a fraud. I mean, two-time Vitor Petrino victim. Decent fighter, but still. His only win's Pateria. He got pieced up by Jimmy Crute in a fight he should have lost. He got 10-8'd in the first round, and two of the judges gave Bellato the second and third round. It was a bunch of malarkey. Paul Craig was owning him in that first round before the illegal up kick that caused the fight to end in a no contest. I wish there was a rematch of it. And more recently, Navajo Sterling kicked his ass as well. I mean, Luke Fernandez, he could be a product of Contender Series, especially like with this last season. A bunch of very weighted matchups for the guys that the UFC matchmakers wanted to get in. But I think he's going to be able to get it done here. I like the odds. He's like a minus 220 right now. I think he's going to finish him within the first round and a half.
That'll move us into the next one, where we will have Gaston Bolaños facing off against Jung Young Lee. 8-5 record for Bolaños, 11-3 record for Jung Young Lee. Bolaños coming off of a loss in his last fight to Quang Lee via rear naked choke. And his counterpart, Mr. Lee, is coming off of a loss in his last fight as well to Daniel Santos. It happens. Up until this point, what's that sound? The 2-2 record for the UFC for Jung Young Lee is not favorable in this matchup for most people, but seeing as he's facing Gaston Bolaños, I think he's fine. Give me Jung Young Lee here. I think he pulls out a decision here.
Yeah, the UFC hasn't been super kind to Dream Killer Bolaños. A guy who I like that has a cool name, and he looks like Ilia Topuria, but he doesn't really fight like Ilia Topuria. Marcus McGee finished him. He has a win over Aaron Phillips and Cortavius Ramius, guys that aren't of the highest caliber. And obviously, he has the submission loss over Quang Bang Lee that Kron previously mentioned. This is up a weight class for Gaston. Jung Young is the infamous 65 punch Hyder Emil victim, but I don't think that Gaston throws a high enough volume to be able to pull something like that off. I'm going to go with the younger fighter who's faced better competition and has had respectable fights against them. Daniel Willie Cat Santos is a favorite of this show, even though Jung Young Lee did take the loss there. I expect him to go out here and win wherever the fight goes. Give me Jiang Young by decision. I like the minus 350 line. It has ballooned. It started at like around a minus 250. So people are agreeing with what Kron and I are seeing on this one. I'll take Jiang Young with the decision.
That'll move us into the next one where we have Rafael Tobias with his 14-1 record facing off against Dr. Nergazay and his 10-2 record. Looks like we have another Contender Series alum coming into his own in the UFC in his UFC debut here. He will be facing, like we previously mentioned, Dr. Nergazay. He has 11 finishes and 14 wins. Nergazay, on the other hand, he is coming off of 2 straight UFC losses after being on the Contender Series in 2024. He was a Ezekiel choke victim to Euron Salty Baldhead, as we call him here on Knockout Analysis. That doesn't favor well, in my opinion, especially when you're facing a Brazilian by the name of Rafael Tobias that has 6 submission wins and no submission losses. Give me Rafael Tobias, bipolar Tobias here to win this fight by submission.
Listen, man, I'm going to have to go against the grain, and I want y'all to hear me out on this one. Rafael Tobias, he's young, but I will say, on the regional scene, I think a lot of his wins have been quite deceiving. Looking at the promotions, he did lose the only time he was in LFA, and I'm a little bit concerned with it, especially with his Contender Series win, which wasn't over the highest level of individual. Like, yeah, you can sit here and say that, like, DR has been submitted back-to-back times, and this guy has submission wins, which is very fair and valid, but I think this is closer to an even fight, as Tobias is around a minus 240. I think Nergazay, if he can keep it on the feet, he's gonna dominate this fight and land a nasty head kick. I expect it to be about in the second round, but he usually builds in some of his fights. But this is a classic UFC matchup. A guy that's like a jiu-jitsu type fighter versus a kickboxer. And I don't know, in this one, I don't want to hear the word jiu-jitsu at all. And I'm going to take Nergazay to beat the jiu-jitsu guy. I don't think Tobias has the grappling and wrestling to get him down. He'll have to club him, sub him. But give me Nergazay here. I'm gonna take the plus 195 as I see it right now in the odds.
That'll move us into the next one where we have 18-7 Sumudaerji facing off against 12-3 Jesus Aguilar. Sumudaerji has become a favorite on the show. He did beat Kevin Borjas in their last fight. He beat Mitch Raposo before that. He was also a Charles Johnson victim. No finish, just a Charles Johnson victim. He's facing off against the Mexican Jesus Aguilar, fighting out of Baja California, Mexico. He's coming off of a win in his last fight against Luis Guerrero. So far in the UFC, he's 4-2. He's a very good fighter. Unfortunately, I don't believe he is better than Sumudaerji. I don't think this fight has a finish in it anywhere. I think this is a long, drawn-out fight that has multiple aspects of martial arts in it, and I think that Sumudaerji wins a split decision.
Yeah, I mean, kind of just based off what Kron just said, the odds don't make a whole lot of sense on this one, and I said it on the last fight. You guys are gonna hear me say it about 3 or 4 more times here. Kron predicting a split decision. I just don't think that Sumudaerji's minus 240 odds are warranted. I mean, maybe one of the biggest reach advantages in UFC history. We'll have to look that up at some point, but a 72-inch versus a 62.5 is absurd. But if you look at Aguilar's last few fights here, He was a pretty sizable underdog against Stuart Nickel. Submitted him in his motherland. Estevan's undefeated. I'll give him a pass for making it a decision there. And once again, a sizable underdog against Gurule. And he went up there and he won the fight pretty handedly. I wouldn't count him out, man, especially at plus 200 odds. I like him in this spot. If Sumadarje is able to keep it on the feet, I expect him to win. I expect him to be able to use his range. But Mitch Raposo, a guy that I don't really hold in high regard, was able to grapple him at points, and he was able to get inside of his reach. If that's the case, man, I think that Aguilar is going to be able to pull it out. I expect a close decision on it as well, but I'm going to go in the other direction with Mr. Jesus.
That'll move us into the next one where we will have 17-9-1 Cody Durden facing off against Niam Jargle Tumendimbrel. Yeah. What the fuck is your nickname, buddy? Art of Knockout. So Cody Durden facing off against Art of Knockout, who's 9-1. So far, he's only this is his first. No, it's not his first UFC fight. It appears that he won the road to UFC, and then fought Carlos Hernandez, lost a split decision, somehow made it back to road to the UFC, and is now back in the UFC facing off against Cody Durden. Couldn't really have a more favorable matchup, as Cody Durden is 1-4 in his last 5 fights, 6-7 in the UFC in general, coming off of a left hook to ground punches knockout loss to Jose Ochoa, as predicted by Kron on Knockout Analysis back in the day, and then a submission loss in November to Alan Nasumoto by Anaconda choke. So you can't really have more favorable matchup if you're the Art of Knockout. So give me Art of Knockout here, and I think he does just that, knocks him out.
Yeah, Nyam Jagral, Tumendimbrel, and I have a slight explanation for the Road to UFC return. On the last few episodes of Road to UFC in 2025, they put UFC fighters against they put UFC fights on 2 of those cards. Bruno Rozil was on there with the Chinese lady that threw the head kick, and Nyam Jagral was on there with Terrence, but which I think Terrence was a replacement, and well, he got absolutely disrespected in Nyam Jargol's neck of the woods near China. Nyam Jargol is a direct descendant of Genghis Khan. That has been confirmed. I'm definitely not making that up, as he fights Cody Durden. Cody Durden, bro. I mean, I've never seen a guy that claims defeat from the jaws of victory on so many consistent occasions. You look at the Bruno Silva fight. I've watched all these guys' fights, man, for like the last 4 or 5 years. He's incredibly active, and he always picks up the phone. Bruno Silva, dominating that fight, gets caught with a bus driver uppercut. It's a match now. Josh Van just gets pieced up and dominated, and that wasn't even close. Jose Ochoa wins the first round. Gets knocked down in 10 seconds in the second. Alan Nascimento, a fight nobody picked him to win. Nobody. Not even as a knockout analysis. He's winning that fight pretty clearly. And he gets clubbed and subbed. I mean, Cody always answers the phone. He picks up these fights on short notice. He's constantly in the gym. Even if he does go out here and lose, I think he's going to get another shot. They're going to have to give him an absolute jobber to get him a win and back on track. Like, yeah, I think Cody can go out there and pressure him, but I think his pressure is more of a curse than it is a gift, considering the state of his chin. And the Art of Knockout, well, he's no stranger to knocking people out in the flyweight division. He also has 6 subs. I could see a club and sub here. I think it's pretty clear. Nyam Jargol is 27. He's a longer fighter. I think his punches are going to connect the end of Cody's face, and he's going to be face planted. I like the odds for this fight. I think they're pretty fair. I think he's around a minus 135 for Yam Jargol. I'm going to take him, man. It's close to 50-50 as it gets, but give me the younger and longer fighter. No pause.
That'll move us into the next one, where we have 10-1 Alberto Montes facing off against 12-5 Ricky Tercios. Ricky Tercios coming off of 2 straight losses in his last 2 UFC bouts, one of which was to Chiwiwis, who we will mention later, one of which was to Bernardo Sopaj, that we will not mention later. That being said, his opponent, Mr. Alberto Montes, UFC Dana White Contender Series alum in 2024, won his fight against Carlos Calderon by Anaconda choke. Don't know if he got hurt or if there was a canceled. Yeah, it looks like there was a canceled fight in between, but he's finally making his UFC debut against Ricky Tercios. Some may call it favorable for him based off of just record watching of Ricky Tercios, but it does appear, Ricky Tercios has obviously fought the better competition because he's been in the UFC. His losses are to Amin Zahabi, who's not a bad fighter, Raul Rosas Jr., who's an up-and-coming fighter. Sopaj, don't know too much about him, but I believe his losses are better. So give me Ricky Tercios here. Shock the world and win this fight by unanimous decision.
Ricky Tercios, I think it was around the time at UFC 324 that he's supposed to be fighting Cameron Smotherman in that in one of his many canceled fights, and we saw what happened to Cameron Smotherman as he face planted before he even hit the octagon, which is a unfortunate thing to see. And yeah, he's facing a debuting fighter that's, like Kron just mentioned, has been out for a minute. He was in fact on the same Contender Series episode as the previous mentioned Dayar Nurgaje. Ricky Tercios, I thought he was a lot older than he is. Sopaj, not a bad loss. Rosas Jr., we'll speak on him, but I don't know, man. I view this as more as of a coin toss type of fight. It's up a weight class for Ricky as well, against a guy who I believe to be fighting in his natural weight division. Maybe Ricky has the lighter man skill and he's able to stay on the feet and piece this guy up, because this Alberto does not have many knockouts. He doesn't have a lot on the hands. I expect this to be a grapple heavy coin flip type fight I wouldn't put my money towards. I'm gonna take the Venezuelan here by a split decision. And looking at the odds over here, I think Montes is around he is a minus 185. I wouldn't touch that, but give me Montes by a split. I think this is, once again, a coin flip type fight.
That'll move us into the next one, where we have 7-0 Dante Lockjaw Johnson facing off against 11-8-1 Cody Brundage. We have yet another one of those fights, as previously mentioned, where this fight probably couldn't be more favorable for his opponent. Cody Brundage coming off of a loss in his last fight to Cam Rouston. Not a bad loss. Cam Rouston's a stud. Eric McConico, otherwise known as the Khalil Roundtree Jr. from Wish. That is a split decision loss for him. The Mansur Abdul Malik fight, very interesting decision by the sanctioned officials on that one. But as we've previously mentioned in every single one of the fights that we've talked about with Brundage, his fights always end really weird. I don't think this one ends really weird. I think this one ends in a hospital visit for Cody Brundage with his 5-7-1 UFC record. He's going to get flatlined and probably hit one or two with super necessary shots after the fight is over. And we got another knockout victory for Dante Johnson to keep his 100% finishing percentage alive.
Yeah, we've talked about Cody Brundage very recently here. It's been about 6 weeks. I
Another
think,
guy that always picks up the phone.
yeah, he does pick up the phone, and I know the UFC likes that, but he's the guy that I really believe has overstayed his welcome. As previously mentioned on the Here Knockout Analysis, this is no short of a sanctioned execution for him. Um, as this is another short notice matchup for him. McConaughey, short notice matchup for him. There's probably a few more on here, but we know knockout analysis that if you pick up the phone, the UFC's they're more inclined to keep you around. What I personally believe is this is the last fight on Cody's contract, and that's why I picked it up. But at the same time, I just don't see any path to victory for him here. Cedricus Dumas tried to grapple Dante Johnson. Dante, he's a weird story. He fought at heavyweight on the Contender Series at 5'8", and he went out there and he beat the crap out of Darion Abbey, and he went in there against Cedricus. A lot of people said he couldn't grapple, and he looked competent in the grappling in his last fight as he got the submission win. I mean, I think that Cedricus Dumas is about one of the only guys he could submit, truthfully. Dog cage lover, Cedricus Dumas. But I think he's going to knock out Cody Brundage. This fight goes outside of the first round, I would be totally flabbergasted. I think Cody would have to do a bunch of cage hugging in order to survive in this one, which would really make Kron and I yawn very aggressively, along with other people watching as a knockout analysis. But give me Dante by first round KO.
I'll move us into the next one where we have Cody Garbrandt facing off against Zhao Long or Long Zhao, whichever one you want to have. Cody Garbrandt 9-7 in the UFC, probably simply due to the fact that he was a champion at one point. He's probably going to end up as a fringe Hall of Famer, maybe even Hall of Famer. He is 1-2 in his last 3 fights, coming off of a decision loss, which I think we may have thought that he won against Raoni Barcelos, and a submission loss to Davison Figueiredo. Before that, he knocked out Brian Kelleher. Other than that, facing off against the 27-10 Zhao Long Zhao, whichever one it is. 1-2 in the UFC for him. He has 14 finishes in his 27 wins, so he's a volume striker that looks for decisions. But we don't like those here on Knockout Analysis. So give me Cody Garbrandt here. Turn back the clock on him one time, young fella. Right hook knockout. 3 minutes and 47 seconds into the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I did some very quick research here. I looked up Wilbert Huaman, and I know Christian Quinones. I think those are the only 2 guys that Zhao Long has ever faced from the Western Hemisphere. He's 1-1, and the Huaman fight that happened in 2019. So in this decade, Zhao Long is 0-1 against guys from the Western Hemisphere. All of the guys that Zhao has fought have been seemingly Asian fellows. Quang Bang Li, not a guy I put a lot of stock into. Only win is against the aforementioned Gaston Bolaños. And man, I just don't really see. I don't see how Cody Garbrandt loses this one. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you folks in here. Plus 140 odds. I mean, I think that's an absolute steal, especially if you see who Cody's losing into. Oh, excuse my voice crack. Raoni Barcelos, guy on a massive win streak. Davison Figueiredo, former champion that he was also piecing up at UFC 300. Beat Kelleher, beat Trevin Jones. Like, he beats people that aren't really supposed to be near the rankings.
That
Kai
aren't named TJ Dillashaw.
that aren't named TJ Dillashaw. And yeah, Kai Kara was able to piece him up. Rob Pont was able to piece him up. These guys are perennial contenders. I don't see Xiao Long being a perennial contender. I don't see him being able to go out there and push some pace where he's taking him down and grappling. I don't really care a whole lot about the submission wins that he has, the 9 of them. I don't think it's against a guy like Cody Garbrandt. I expect Cody Garbrandt to have a aura maxing moment and to be able to land a nasty knockout with 2 minutes and 57 seconds left in the second round.
That'll move us into the next one. We will have Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez facing off against his opponent, Bruno Ferreira. RoboCop coming off of a win in his last fight against Roman Kopylov, the ever so infamous Jack Hermanson knockout incident, the knockout that he suffered against Jared Cannonier, and then Christian Leroy Duncan and Brad Tavares to make his 4-1 in his last 5 little spurt there. Facing off against Bruno Ferreira. Ferreira coming into this one on a 3-fight winning streak. He did just face Marvin Vettori in his last fight on the Dvalishvili Yan card. Marvin Vettori is a standing banger. He's a favorite here on Knockout Analysis. That's a good win, but his win before that, Jackson McVeigh. And Jackson McVeigh is not looking very hot for the UFC right now. So he's probably got one more crack at it. McVeigh does. He did beat Petrosian, but I'm not completely sold on this one. I think RoboCop Rodriguez is the pick here, and I think he gets it done by knockout.
Yeah, this is a nasty and wicked rematch. And honestly, I think you can make this fight 100 times, and they would be 50-50 against each other. And that's why I kind of understand the odds with this one. Gregory's a -200. He's looked impressive as of late. But I don't know. I don't see these guys as championship level fighters. I expect them both to be ranked. But they just gas out in a lot of their fights, despite their skills.
You know who else I don't see as a championship level fighter? Jamahal Hill. And now that you mentioned that those guys have fought before, I went back and looked, and that was the card where he became a champion. So fuck that card.
Indeed. I mean, I expect this to end in the first round. I'm going to pick RoboCop as well. I mean, you could say, like, Bruno Ferreira has the 1-year age advantage, but RoboCop is going to have a reach advantage. These guys are going to bang. These guys are going to scrap. And I think that
looking for some more super necessary shots.
Incredibly necessary finishing shots while Bruno's unconscious on the canvas, and Gregory will be the second fighter to knock out Bruno Ferreira. That's what I'm looking at here. I'll say it'll be in the first, man. This fight isn't gonna make it out of the first. This is a great first fight for the main card. Mythical fight.
His 28-15 record, facing off against his favorite, a minority, Michael Johnson. For some reason, the UFC loves to give this guy people that are not white. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe it's personal preference for Dover. Michael Johnson, no slouch. 24-19 record, don't let it fool you. He can knock out anybody. He's been in the UFC forever. He's 16-15. He just exposed Daniel Zellhuber, who is a fraud. We will get into that in another fucking video, but he is a fraud. Oh my god, this shit's a fucking
It's a fact.
fraud. Anyways, 16 and 15 in the UFC, facing off against Drew Dober, whose record in the UFC isn't much better, 14 and 11. He's 2 and 3 in his last 5. He beat Ricky Glenn, lost to Renato Moicano, who I have to say was a title challenger, whether it be a fluke or not. Gian Silva via doctor stoppage. John Silva's on a fucking tear right now, so that's not even that big of a deal. Emmanuel Torres, and then he beat Kyle Prepelic after kicking him in the nuts like 7 different times. So take for that what you will. Drew Dober's never lost to a person that is not white. Michael Johnson, I believe, has not won against anybody. Or Michael Johnson. There's some. I saw some stat. I don't know. I just ruined it myself. Give me Drew Dober here. By the law of averages here, he's going to make Michael Johnson's record in the UFC 16 and 16. I don't see a finish here. I think this will be fight of the night because I think these guys are going to stand in the pocket and fucking bang.
Yeah, as Kron just mentioned, Drew Dober doesn't like fucking black people. I mean, it's probably not true, but he definitely has no problem knocking them out in the UFC octagon, man. And if you want my prediction on this fight, just pretty much just watch the last segment with Ferrer and Rodriguez. Like this right here, the last fight is a 50-50 fight. Drew Dober and Michael Johnson is the dictionary definition of a 50-50 fight. I I don't even. I'm not even gonna look at the odds. I'm actually am because I'm kind of curious right now.
Look,
Kind of.
Daniel Zellhuber.
Yeah, Daniel Zellhuber is a massive fraud. Chrono spitting there. I can't believe it, but it's true. Yeah, Michael Johnson's a very slight favorite. Whatever. I don't care who the favorite is in this fight. I don't care what the odds are. Don't bet on this if you are. If there's a gun in your head and you have to bet on this, you might as well just put the gun in your mouth because you don't really know who's gonna win this shit. We're gonna unanimously pick Drew Dober here. I just think he's gonna do it. He's lost to much better competition. Manuel Torres is a top 15 ranked lightweight. John Silva is potentially gonna fight for a title here soon. And yeah, I mean Romano Moicano's there. He's there. So I'm not gonna say any more on that matter. Michael Johnson has been beating jobbers. Darius Flowers somehow getting another UFC opportunity. And I don't know, man. I'm going to quit talking about it. I think that this fight's going to go to a decision. I think both of these guys are going to figure out that they both bleed blood. Give me Drew Dober by decision. I think this could be the meathead fight of the night.
I forgot to mention, and I usually don't forget this, that Gregory Rodriguez and Bruno Ferreira are both ranked 13th and 15th in their division. And that'll move us on to 13th ranked Rob Font facing off against Raul Rosas Jr., otherwise known as Chihuihuis. Rob Font, kickboxing legend, 12 and 8 in the UFC, lost his last fight to David Martinez, won his last two before that against Kyler Phillips and G. Matsumoto. Before that, he lost to Davidson Figueiredo and Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen, recent title challenger, I think. I think I got that right. Other than that, though, Rob Font facing off against a wrestling heavy Raul Rosas Jr. You either love Raul Rosas or you hate him with every fiber of your being. I believe I know which way that's going to lean for my counterpart here. But he is 4-1 in his last 5. He lost to Christian Rodriguez via unanimous decision. Before that, or after that, he's been on a little bit of a tear here. I unfortunately am not going to pick Rob Font in this one. I think momentum is going to stay with the Chihuihuis man, or El Nino Problema, as he calls himself, which I believe translates to the problem child. So give me Raul Rosas to win here. I'll pick a late submission.
All I'm going to say to give Kron and everybody that picks Raul Rosas some sort of leeway. Statistically, the fighter that's 17 years younger wins about 70 to 80% of the time. That's the only statistic that anybody will have to back it up. But me personally, I don't give a rat's ass, bro. Raul Rosas Jr. has been given copious amounts of favorable matchups. I mean, this dude has a very punchable face. He's Mexican and he says crazy stuff on the mic. I mean, name a guy in history that has two decently close fights with Vince Morales and Eric Kuling back to back and gets a shot at the rankings. This guy went 29-28, went life or death with Vince Morales. Now he's getting to fight Rob Font for the rankings. This, you know what this reminds me of, Kron? This reminds me of when Bo Nickel went life and death with Paul Craig, got a shot at the rankings. Then he got TKO'd via body knees. By Rainer, the shitter. Oh, I can't wait to fucking talk about him. I'm so happy he's on this card. Thank you, Kron, for reminding me. But
Raul Rosas, momentum is up, but face is down, unfortunately.
Rob Font, man. David Martinez just went out there and beat Marlon Vera. You know, not a huge Marlon Vera guy at this point. I wish we were able to get in there and film that Mexico card so we could have spoke on that. But it's a loss that's aging fairly. I think Gene Matsumoto is a better fighter than Raul Rosas.
Real quick for you knockout analysis people. You'll never believe this. You will never believe it. But I actually picked King Green to win that fight by knockout. I picked that.
It is documented. It is very well documented.
That's how much of a fucking fraud I think Daniel Zellhuber is in his leg kick jabs that he can't fucking use his hands, apparently.
That man has 4 feet, and his hands are feet, and his feet are hands.
Built like. Have you ever seen The Lightning Thief? Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief?
Dude, it's been about over 10 years.
You remember his friend Grover, the fucking dude with the goat legs? How he stands?
Oh,
that's how fucking Daniel Zellhuber stands. Fuck off my screen.
We might have to make that the thumbnail now, bro. Shit. But I'm gonna finish the Rob Font rant and the Chihuihuis rant here. I think Rob Font's gonna win this shit by TKO in the second round. I mean, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Rob Font compels you.
That'll move us into the next one, where we have 7th ranked Kyle Barala facing off against Rainier de Ritter. Well, Kyle Barala, he is coming off of a loss in his last fight to Nasruddin Imavov. That's a hell of a fight. It was a little bit more competitive than people probably thought it was going to be. He beat Brendan Allen in a grappling match in karate combat, beat Jared Cannonier, beat Paul Craig, beat Abbas Magomedov, beat Ola Jacek, beat Makhmudov, and he's got a 7-1 record in the UFC here. I don't believe there's much competition here to what people say. Rainier de Ritter's got a lot of proving himself to do after quitting on the stool in his last fight. I mean, Brendan Allen wore his ass out. And Robert Whitaker, he beat Whitaker. Bo Nickel, he, as previously mentioned, knee to the body. Kevin Holland choked him out. Meerschaert choked him out. So, I mean, 7-2 or 4-1 record in the UFC for de Ritter. I think Albarala's the much better fighter here. I think he's a lot more talented. I think he's a lot more exciting to watch as well. Give me Kyle Barala to win here, and I think if he doesn't knock him out, he probably makes him quit on the stool again because he's a bitch.
Yeah, man. All the guys, man, on the And the fighting nerds, man, they can't grapple, man. Yeah, that's what a lot of people sound like. They sound like fucking bitches because they don't know anything about it when they say that the damn fighting nerds can't grapple. You know what Kyle Baralio has that Rainer DeRizer doesn't?
Bitches.
Many things, but here we'll go on a list: swag, heart, swag. Oh, and a win over Brendan Allen in a grappling match. Yeah, he has all of that. Um, I don't really give a crap about what a lot of people are saying, dude, about Rainer to Ritter, Rainer to quitter, Rainer to shitter, bro. I really don't care. I went on Twitter and my burner, and I started talking crazy about it, and all five of his fans started saying to me, "Oh well, he had to make this weight cut 4 times in a year, man. You can't respect that he did that 4 times." I'm like, well, first off, if his weight cut is that compromising, you should move up a weight class. Second of all, he was a huge favorite against Brendan Allen. I thought it was a sure thing he was going to beat Brendan Allen. And he shit the bed. Outside of the first round, he looked horrible. He got dominated by Brendan All In Allen, dude, who flew a fake Canadian flag on his banner. I mean, it really doesn't get much worse than that. It was one of the worst performances I've seen by an athlete in my entire life. Like, I've never seen a guy in the one of the biggest fights of his career, if not the biggest, just say, "Nah, I'm good." I don't really think that he has a shot against Kaio in this one. I appreciate they ran into Ritter, absolutely clobbered Bo Nickel, and for that, he'll always have a teensy weensy bit of respect. But I don't think he has a shot against Kaio, especially with all of his wins. And Nazaredene's not a bad loss. I don't want to hear anybody say it. He's a better grappler than Rainer. He's a better striker than Rainer. If Rainer wants to do his body knees and his counter elbows, Kaio's going to be ready. I think that Kaio is a bigger, no homo, and a younger fighter. And I think that Rainer de Ritter struggles with more dense and girthy individuals like we saw with the Anatoly Malakin trilogy, or what, 2 fights? I don't know. I'm not going to look it up. Kaya Brad is going to knock him out in the second round.
That'll move us into the main event of the evening for the BMF belt. We have Max Blessed Holloway facing off against Charles Do Bronx Oliveira. Holloway coming off of a win in his last fight and a piss poor fight against Dustin Poirier. Fuck that fight. That shit was ass. I'm tired of hearing people talk about it. Ilia Topuria knocked him out. He's 23-8 in the UFC. 3 of those losses to Volkanovski. Charles Oliveira coming off of a win in his last fight via RNC of Mateus Gamrot. Before that, we sense a common occurrence here. Ilia Topuria knocked him out. Before that, he beat Michael Chandler. He lost a split decision to Arman Tsarukyan. Beat Beneil Dariush. Lost to Islam Makhachev. 24-11 in the UFC. These guys are both legends in the UFC in their own right. Unfortunately, this fight makes zero fucking sense for a BMF belt. Max Holloway is going to fucking annihilate Charles Oliveira. It's going to be a first round knockout. And as Witt is probably going to afro mention after I say this, the first time they trade in the pocket, Oliveira is going down. I'm sorry, but he is.
There's a few fights this year that are being rumored have already been made. I mean, we might as well say it right now. Like Justin Gaethje, Ilia Topuria, the first exchange, Justin Gaethje's going out face planting on the canvas. The first exchange. This fight, I mean, it's very potentially one of those. I mean, I picked Gamrot to beat Oliveira, which I ended up being wrong about, but Mateus Gamrot, if you watch the exchanges, a guy who was by no means a striker, was absolutely piecing up Charles Oliveira on the feet. And it was quite concerning to see. Max Holloway is up a division. He has more power in his hands. Yeah, he didn't knock out Dustin Poirier, but Dustin Poirier was fighting in New Orleans. Ain't no way Dustin Poirier was going to get face planted on the canvas in his retirement fight. Um, I think Max Holloway, I think he's going to find the right punch. I think that Charles Oliveira is going to try and clinch like he does, and that's where he takes a lot of his damage. He tries to clinch, and some dude is throwing a straight or a jab, and he's walking straight into it. I don't think you can do that against Max Holloway. I think Max Holloway is going to knock him out in the first round. And if it's the first exchange, well, Kron predicted on knockout analysis. I think it's very much a possibility. This fight isn't going to last very long, regardless.
That'll do it, folks. That'll take us to the end of this knockout analysis predictions video. This has been Knockout Analysis. Be sure to check us out on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, share it to all your peoples. Be sure to check out our sponsors: Shank It Golf, WGG, Cowboy Revolution. Use code Cronio Media. Check out at all those places. That is Rob Font, and we will see you in the next one.